Hi guys, welcome to another Code Films. This is the Web Resources Code Film. In this code film, we're going to learn a little bit about web resources, the theory of web resources, and then we'll look at the story, we'll look at the situation. So it's an episode, and as usual, every episode has something fantastic that we learn from, and then we solve a problem and we get a solution. So stay tuned, and as usual, comments, questions, drop all in the comment section. So without much ado, let's just get straight into the slides and enjoy web resources, the theory. The tags here are web services, RESTful URIs, data operations. All this will be explained later on in the video. Alright, so information management system. So what's an information management system and how is it related to web resources? The story goes as such. Your computer is a very powerful machine. I'm telling you, it has a lot of fantastic stuff you can do with it based on how it works: input, output, processing, and storage. So when you collect data from the real world and you want to present that data in a meaningful way, we call that information. So it's processed information. Processed data is information because there is meaning out of it. Because as human as you are, your brains has to make meaning out of things. That's why we say some people are intelligent, some are smart, and all that, because of the way they handle the data that is in their mind and the way they apply the knowledge that they've gained. So it's very intangible, but in a nutshell, that's a reality. What's intangible is what's really affecting the things around us. So information management system just helps you to, as it says, manage information. It could be in a way of how you process, how you collect the data, how the ways of doing things, of collecting the information. So you can build different kinds of information management system based on your way of viewing how data should be collected, data should be processed, data should be handled, data should be stored. It's your own way or your own strategy or technique that you are seeing things. So that's an information management system. You can see it like food. There's always this debate about Ghana jollof and Nigeria jollof. Ghana jollof, the way you prepare your Ghana jollof based on the ingredients and recipe you use is different from the way a Nigerian also go about his food. But in the nutshell, one of them has to be nicer than the other. I'll say Ghana jollof is nice. Alright, so that's information management system. So someone thought about this and brought something called information management system, and later on we have something to do with the World Wide Web. What we have here is our computer connected to the internet. So I have information on my machine, or I collect information, I collect data on my machine, but I know that data will be needed by other people in other countries. How do you know? Someone asked me, how do you know? It's like selling products and selling products and services. When you are doing something, sometimes you think about human beings, your humanity. So most of the best ideas in this world are humanity driven. I want to connect with people. Facebook, I want to post my ideas with people. I want to share thoughts from my mind with people. Twitter and WhatsApp, I want to be in constant chat with my friends. I don't be using pen pal or I don't be writing letters. I want it to be instant. So because of instant, or letting it becoming instant, you say WhatsApp is a good application. So the same way that somebody will do something beautiful on his laptop because of input, processing, output, and storage, he wants to share this information with people. He wants people to be aware of this information. So he brings his laptop and connects it to the World Wide Web. So what's the World Wide Web then? The World Wide Web is also an information management system. So now we are getting there. The World Wide Web is an information management system. It's that small idea, like a post office service. Let's say you go to a post office service, you get all the information you need based on how they have designed how information should be handled or how you should get your mails. That's the same way the World Wide Web was constructed. Someone saw that if we do this, if we can have an information management system whereby everybody can share what they have, communicate with people, because of sometimes convenience, because of sometimes humanity, for humanity's sake, sometimes because of love driven. The drivers of such ideas are crazy, but that's what makes the world work. So the World Wide Web is an information management system whereby you can access various web resources. A web resource is a simple is anything in the present world, or is anything in the abstract world. So a web resource is anything at all, as long as you can identify it, is a web resource. So if, for instance, I have a flax and I can identify a flax, when I say I can identify their properties that define a flax, if I can identify that flax in the physical world and I want to sell that flax I want to sell it online, I want this to be on the information management system whereby everybody can see this flax and see, I want to buy this flax, then it becomes a web resource. So it could be in the form of what? An image. I'm using an image to sell my product. I'm not actually putting the flaxes physically there on the internet like in the store, whereby I'll go to a store and put the flax there and you see the flax and come and buy it. This time I'm putting it on the World Wide Web, which is the information management system, which allows me to view various web resources because it manages information online based on the engineers that came up with that idea. So that's the World Wide Web for you. It makes sense now, don't worry. It makes sense. It will make sense. So, well, someone asked me, what's URI, URN, and URL? Good. Now, the engineers that came up with the World Wide Web also thought that they have designed a system for you. And the system they've designed, they are saying that in the present world, we can identify almost everything. So, sometimes say we have 17 buildings in one location, but all 17 buildings are not the same buildings. Some are schools, some are churches, some are mosques, some are temples, some are restaurants, some are corporate buildings, but they are all what? Buildings under one classification. But now if we want to segregate each of the buildings for its uniqueness, then we go into this is a corporate building. Because it's a corporate building, it should be treated as such. This is a church. Because it's a church, it should be treated as such. This is a mosque, this is a temple, so no two places or no two buildings will be of the same manner in which it was put up. It's not possible. You understand? If it's a club, it was designed to be a club. You understand what I'm saying? So they looked at that. I believe they looked at that, or I would have looked at that, and then they said, no, we have to be able to represent whatever that's outside online or on the www. So we started with URI. URI means Uniform Resource Identifier. We'll get down into URIs. So URIs are Uniform Resource Identifiers. That helps you to identify anything. That's what I'm saying. It is anything, physical or abstract, as long as it has properties. It can be identified on the web. Now URN is the Uniform Resource Name. You are able to identify, but is there a name for it in a particular namespace? When I say a namespace, I take, for example, buildings is our namespace, but in that buildings namespace, we have different kinds of buildings. We have corporate buildings, real estate buildings, we have banking buildings, we have, you name it, restaurants, we have nightclubs. All those are buildings in one namespace. Okay, now Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator is, I want to get to this building, I want to get this building. So that's the actual possession of the entity. You understand? With an information management system, you just don't want to be playing with the data. You want to retrieve the data and do something meaningful with it. So that is being done by a URL. So sometimes people will say, share the web address with me. when I say share the web address with me, what I'm saying is that I want to know where on the information management system, which is online or which is being accessed by millions of people, where can I find that information you're telling me about? A good example is news. For example, hey, my friend, have you heard about this news? Hey, what was the news about? This so and so and so and so, or this your footballer has been transferred from Chelsea to Liverpool. You're like, wow, where did you see that? Okay. I'll share the web address with you. I'll share the URL with you. So that's URL. You want to locate that information. You understand what I'm saying? Or like there's this new restaurant at Las Vegas, and then your friend asks you, wow, do you know the street address? Yeah, I do know the street address. Maybe please, I'm not an American. Yeah, it's on this street, so and so this street, on this alley, something of that sort. You understand what I'm saying? So you're able to drive there and get to that place, you understand? So that's the meaning of the URL. So but if it was a URI, it is what? You say we can identify this as a building or as a restaurant. Then if you go to the URN, well, it falls under a list of buildings or a type of building. Then we go to the URL. If you want to go to this place, then this is the street address. So I hope now URI, URN, and URL makes sense. I'm sorry if I'm moving too fast, but I want the content to be synced in real quick because there's an application that we've built, and that will help you to appreciate everything at the end. Now, what is RDFs? RDF simply means Resource Description Framework. Okay, if you take flags, for instance, when I say flags, it could be a thermos flags, it could be whatever flags you put your food inside. So the flags needs to be described by a certain standard or certain guidelines, and those guidelines is what on the internet or on the web is called RDF. Let me clarify this. Internet is the infrastructure. www is the information management system on the infrastructure. You get it? So if someone comes out, so there could be someone can actually come out with a different information management system that should be on the internet, and probably you say it shouldn't be World Wide Web. You say I want it to be world universe wide collection. So then we say for every information or for every resource you want to access on the internet, you have to start with now URC, whatever abbreviation you come up with. But it's possible, it's very possible. So RDF, or the Resource Description Framework, is the guidelines that helps us to in a nutshell, migrate entities, migrate physical entities, migrate abstract entities, migrate anything at all that is in the real world or in the abstract world to be represented on the information management system, which can be accessed via the internet. And the internet, as was made mention earlier in the Why Digitize episode, is computers that are being connected to themselves to talk to each other. So that's the RDF. So this slide has been very fast, but that's the truth about information management system and the idea behind www. So www is a very simple idea. It's all about information management, but the impact or that it has had on our lives of billions of people is because of the intangible yet simple power it has. Just news, something like news, it's just crazy. So I know you understand, but I wouldn't want to go much. But that's the quick about this slide. So if we go back to our slides again, this is the we're connecting to the internet, and then whatever that, for instance, Akusia has seen in the real world, or Ivy has seen in the real world, she comes and puts it in a computer and says, no, I want to share it with my friends online. So she finds a way of doing that, and it's going to be in the information management system, which is the www. Now let's go into the URI. Now, URI has a generic syntax that it uses so that you can identify web resources on the internet. So this is a general schema, general syntax. I just want you guys to look at this so that you know that when I say syntax, it means it's like, I'll say it's like a structure that helps you to, or rules, or it's a guideline. It's like a ruler. Don't go beyond this, or don't do this, or follow this so it works, or obey this so it works. Yeah, so your information can be on the internet, or it can be on the web, can be accessed on the web. So just do that. So that's the general syntax it has for you. We won't go into the technical details of that, but I'll let you see the examples. And not all URIs are the same from the earlier explanation we made about web resources. For example, if we take this is a news URI, this is telephone URI, this is telnet. Don't worry, I'm not going to telnet here, but this is HTTPS URI. HTTPS, we're also going to HTTPS, but for you to just appreciate that every web resource, as we said earlier, is a physical or abstract entity, and it could be anything that can be identified. It's all because it stems from information management system. So people are still finding ways of representing everything to be what? Online. That's on the World Wide Web. So the World Wide Web keeps expanding. It's not going to end anytime soon. So if at first we are sending mails, or we're sending mails to people via postal address with envelope, someone said no, because in the real world I can identify this as a mail. If I can find properties that can help me to migrate it from the physical world to an electronic world, or to a digital world, then I don't need to be writing mails on paper again. I can just do it on the computer, because the computer is very powerful. It's as simple as that. It's one of the most powerful inventions I've ever played with, and I'm still playing with it, and I'm still knowing that there's more to do with the computer and the internet than even what has been done. So that's one for the world. That's just for mail. So that's just an example for you to appreciate web resources. Now, the URI schemas, there are various URI schemas. The URI schema just helps you to know the different kind of web resources you can actually put online. So you can actually visit this link. I want us to look at this link so you can appreciate when I say web resources can be anything physical or abstract. So when you come down to the list, you realize that the most common ones we always play with is always the HTTPS, and HTTPS is just one way of getting information from the World Wide Web, because you want to retrieve based on, it's a protocol. It's a simple protocol that helps you to manipulate information you would have done locally in an information management system, or probably if you're working in the post office, the way you would have manipulated the mail, you can actually migrate that same manipulation online, because of the beauty of the World Wide Web, the brains behind it. They identify things in the physical world and found ways of migrating it to the electronic world, and it worked perfectly. It's not magic, it's based on ones and zeros. So yeah, so we have different URIs. So this is the HTTP and HTTPS. For HTTP what? Resources. We also have another common one among IT people will be SSH. I want to SSH to this server. You understand? When they say such a thing, it makes it look so bogus, but it's just saying that there's a web resource, or there's a web resource on this server. I want to go and either manipulate, view, do something there, update, delete. The operation is being bounded by what that computer allows. So yeah, so just for you to go through, so you know that there's a lot of web resources that can be identified online. It's very technical, but I won't go into that at all. I won't go into that at all. So let's just take this definition. A uniform resource identifier helps identify a source without what ambiguity. So that's just for you to know from that slide. So yeah, so that's for the URI schema. I'll drop this link in the comment section and the link to the web resources so that you can also go and read more. So that'll be it for this code film. So in a nutshell, the theory about web resources is that if I see anything in the physical world and I want to represent it for everybody to see, what I want everybody to see should be on the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web is that global information management system which allows people to do whatever they like with that information based on operations that have been allowed by the engineers that made the World Wide Web. So there's actually a consortium that handles the World Wide Web. That's the W3 consortium or the W3C. And there's also an engineering task force that go into the engineering of all these things. That's the IETF. And there's also a different body that allows URIs to be registered. That's the IANA. So there's a whole corporate bodies kind of work. And most of these ideas that people had it all occurred while working. Example is the World Wide Web. The idea was generated while working. That was by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, if I'm pronouncing his name well. Yes, Sir Tim and a co-friend. I've forgotten his name. Robert. I'm not sure. Yeah, so it was while working. That's how they had these ideas, because they were working there. So that's how they had all these beautiful ideas that we're all benefiting from today. So it's good to work. So if you get to work, make sure you work very hard. So that has been all for this code film for the theory of the web resources. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section. So after this, I'm sure you should be able to identify anything that can be represented on the World Wide Web. This will make your life easier. Just after this code film, after these episodes, you guys will be flying high. So thank you for sticking with us. This is code films. This is the doing team. This is the team that breaks every complex stuff into ABCD, because it's all about knowledge. Knowledge is power. So guys, drop your comments in the comment section, your questions in the comment section, and stay tuned for the remaining episodes. Thank you, man. Thank you for your time. This has been Team Code Films.